Hey guys, I've got this great verse out of the book of James, chapter 1, starting with verse 2. It says, "Consider it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials." I think in the New American Standard 2020 translations, it says, "My brothers and sisters." So, brethren is inclusive. Count it all joy, brothers and sisters, when you deal with trouble, confront trials, are presented with temptation, tests, and trials. And it's interesting because he says, count it all joy because you're knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. So this is not advocating like sadomasochism, where it's like a love for trouble. You know, it's like, oh, I relish it. No, that's not what it's saying. It's saying, man, have a mindset of positivity about even the challenges of life, knowing that there's going to be a good outcome. I've been enjoying the benefits of going to the gym with consistency. And no, it's not particularly, man, I can't wait to go strain my muscles. I've never felt that way, but I do know that what physiologists and scientists and biologists have said is, in the case of the human frame, at a certain point of age, there's diminishment of lean muscle mass and even bone density. So I'm aware of that. When you're a kid, you're invincible, you're immortal, you're bulletproof, and you don't have to think about that stuff. We don't need to impose that on the kids because they're in a growth moment. But in the process, I think we're always in a growth moment, but there's a point at which what you naturally easily acquired, you now have to work at it. And this is basically telling us that things will work for us. So, I talked to a man that went through a cancer battle when he was a young man, and he said, his perspective was this. He said, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world because all that I've gone through has formed who I am now. And I'm really grateful for who I am now, And no, cancer's not from God and it's an attack. But, like it says later on in James, let no one say when he is tempted, tested, or tried that I am being tempted, tested, and tried by the Lord. For God cannot be tempted by evil, and he himself does not tempt anyone. The tempter is the devil. But yet it says, count it all joy when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect, which means mature, complete, which means established, lacking in nothing. Wow, that pressure turns a lump of coal into a diamond. But if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all generously and without reproach. A young husband, you marry a lady and you realize that the female has dynamics that the male doesn't have. The Bible says husbands were exhorted to live with our wives in an understanding way as with a weaker vessel. I heard a minister, I was actually in Zimbabwe, Africa, and this minister from Brooklyn, New York, was speaking about this. And he said his thought was that the rise and fall of the estrogen level in the woman's monthly cycle, that may be what these verses are saying about living with your wife as with a weaker vessel. And that's important to know that kind of thing, going into a kind of thing. It's important to know that the testing of your faith produces endurance. It's important to know that if any of you lacks wisdom, like when I was a newlywed, I said, God, I don't know what makes this girl tick. Well, the reality is she didn't understand me either. And there's a feminine mystique, and I'll tell you, I try to be a man of mystery with my wife, actually. And we've been going now for 47 years this month, married, and it's fun. And I pray for wisdom. I mean, even as recently as today and yesterday in my interaction with her. So I just talked to an employee that I've had in my life for over 47 years. You know, and we just had a practical talk about roles and responsibilities. You know, when we face trials, God will give us something precious called wisdom. I'm going to talk more about this in these upcoming days, but this is seed for thought. The Bible says, pursue wisdom. It's the principal thing. Go for it. Go after it. Crave it. And we'll talk more about it in the upcoming days. God bless you.